Welcome to Real Geek Media, where we get together every week to talk about all things entertainment, movies, interesting news stories, and celebrities. It is March 25th, 2024. I'm Hayden Stoll. I'm here with Christopher Michael Blake. Christopher, how are you today?
Doing well, Hayden. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
You seen anything interesting lately?
Nothing new. Nothing new. Just kind of watching some older stuff. It's baseball season. I'm catching up my Major League and Major League 2 rewatches, Moneyball season. So
Love Moneyball.
Yeah,
Love Major League.
Yeah, great movies. It's that time of year for me to get hyped for baseball, so that's kind of where I'm at. I haven't seen anything new though. How about yourself? Anything new?
I happened to catch American Fiction this week.
Oh, how was it?
It was really, really, really good. I didn't like the ending. The acting was superb. The writing for the script was just awesome. It really broke genre, I think. Not a woke movie by any stretch of the imagination. Very well done.
Nice. Yeah, that was.
Still thought Oppenheimer was better, but
okay.
It was well done.
I remember the trailer for that when I saw the trailer for it. I said that looks really interesting, right? That looks like a solid movie. Jeffrey Wright is a great actor, and that's good to hear that. It's a good performance there.
Definitely deserved to be nominated for sure.
Okay, nice. We'll have to check it out when I find some time. We are here this week to talk about Dawn of the Dead, 1978, George Romero, the sequel to Night of the Living Dead. Christopher, how did you find out about Night of the Living Dead? Back when we were kids, right? And you start kind of finding out what you like to watch and horror or zombies, and was it somebody that showed you this movie, or was it just kind of like college? You're like, oh man, you start to discover some of these movies. How'd you kind of end up watching this one?
So I actually saw the remake with Tony Todd, the Tom Savini version, and I didn't remember at first, but I remember now. And it was on Joe Bob's Briggs Drive-In Theater.
Oh man, you're just blast from the past right there. Was that TNT or TBS?
It might have been actually the one on Cinemax at the time.
Oh, okay.
He was on there, and he used to give the full. This is the number of breasts, the number of
right,
killed, number of sex scenes. It was the way he did it. It set things up it was revolutionary at the time, because that's what you want to cut to the chase for.
Right.
He always did like the triple feature with the drive-in. He's up to like 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday night. I used to sit there and probably watch until at least 2 o'clock in the morning. All the Eric Roberts movies, and they were good stuff. But I remember Night of the Living Dead specifically being on there, the remake, and it was the first time I'd probably seen it. Probably around 11 years old at the time. Maybe want to check out the original first, and then I couldn't find Dawn of the Dead because it never comes on television. I remember catching Day of the Dead when I was a little bit older, not really liking that so much. But of course I went back and rewatched it. But yeah, Dawn of the Dead is, I think, an improvement on Night of the Living Dead. But it's funny, did you watch the 2004 version also?
Yes. And it's a solid movie too. The seven, much like how you were exposed to Night of the Living Dead, the Tony Todd one was the first one that I saw too, right? And I might have been in high school when I first saw it, and it kind of made me want to go pursue the original. And then you start finding, oh, all right, Dawn of the Dead, there's a sequel. And I remember when I watched that, I was like, this is awesome. Like, this movie is awesome. It builds upon everything they lay the groundwork for in the first one, and just makes, you put the setting in. Now, this was 1978, right? Mega malls were like just starting to become huge, right? All through the 80s, Friday night, go to the mall, right? As a kid, that's what everybody did. Trip to the mall. Now, malls are empty now, but, back then in the 70s and 80s, they were huge. So the setting really was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And some awesome characters. We'll get into those. But, to answer your question, yes, the Zack Snyder 2004 one, I enjoyed that too. I thought there was a lot of good stuff in it that differed from the 78 one and made it, similar in a sense. But I like that one too. You give me the original every day, but I'm not going to be upset if we have to watch Zack Snyder's 2004 version. Did you like that one?
So, I'm going to say this first before I delve into that. When we talk about Night of the Living Dead, the Tom Savini version, or even the original, the thing that sticks out the most to me is the racial overtones from the movie. And I don't think you can escape watching those movies without that. Let's face it, you're in more of a hick town. I use that term loosely. Rural, maybe. And, of course, the main character in the movie, in addition to the female, is black. And they're almost kind of discounted. They're not trusted. People are hiding in the basement. We don't want to come out. We're scared. And, of course, if they had just let them in the basement, they would have found the keys to the gas pipe and not blown themselves up.
Yep.
And even in Dawn of the Dead, you can't help but escape what Romero's doing. He starts off in the inner city.
Yep.
He's going into this project house where the poor people live. And here the police are going in there. You're trying to think, well, why would the police be going in there? They have an outbreak of these zombies running around. And everybody's getting ready to flee. But we have to go in there and take this cult leader out. I mean, if that's what you have to do for the day, that's great. But, I mean, I just, that was a little hokey. The special effects, they were what they were for the time. I can understand he's on a budget trying to get those done. I mean, people today would crucify him for painting people up. Yeah. Let's face it, there were people who were white running around pretending to be different colors.
And it's obvious when you see it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And don't get me wrong. You sit there and you go, oh, okay, that looks terrible. But then when he even introduces Flyboy to Ken Foray, and you can see them initially, it's like, oh, well, who's this guy? And and then it kind of goes into a story about feminism. She doesn't want to be treated any different. She wants an equal say. I know I'm having this baby, but I don't want this to define who I am. I'm not playing den mother to you guys. Those types of issues with that movie, it really kind of, for me, focuses in on the internal power struggle in society. And I don't know if that makes sense or not, that women are always striving to be equal. Different races are trying to be equal. And I'm not trying to play woke right now or anything like that.
No. But, it's, your points are super accurate, because in his movies, that is front and center. Whether, you're hooked on the action or the suspense that's going on screen, you have a black male lead and a white female lead, and like you were saying, this is 1978, right? And Ken Foree's character in this movie, Peter, is the most reliable character in this story. He becomes the front and center leader of this group.
They don't get where they're at without him.
No.
And I'm going to say this now, because I'm watching both movies again. I didn't like the 1978 version as much as I originally did in college. I don't know what kind of lost its appeal a little bit to me, maybe because I've seen it so many times. I know when I was in college and I saw Dawn of the Dead 2004, I initially didn't like the movie. I actually liked it a lot more rewatching it now.
That's interesting.
I think because of the cast. I really thought the cast for the movie did an awesome job. I really just Ving Rhames and Sarah
Yes.
Polley.
Yes.
Um, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He's
I forget his name. I know who you're talking about. The guy that was in was it in Wings? Was he in Wings? I forget.
I still
forget
got
his
Ty
name.
Burrell,
Ty
Michael
Burrell.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Well, Ty Burrell, he's a jerk.
Yeah.
But for me, the mall security guy, Michael Kelly, is probably, he goes on a House of Cards and he does a great job there.
Yes.
I almost didn't even recognize him in this movie. I'm like, who is that guy?
He was like maybe the unsung hero of that group. Like you hate him at first, but then you really like him, and then you really want him. You're pulling for him. The for the second half of the movie. He was a capable guy, right? Like just, I guess, stuck behind the mall security facade. That he was a capable part of that group. He was great. He was great. Yeah, that 2004 is it was very much a like surprise for me when I watched that one, and I was just, wow, this was pretty good. It did make me want to watch the 78 one again. What I found like interesting, and this is just like stylistically with the 78 version, there's some of the things that you see in like Robert Rodriguez films and Quentin Tarantino films with the ground up shots, and they're both pointing pistols and then the blood splatter. It's
The basement, yeah.
you see there's several of those shots in this movie, and you could see it as being like an inspiration for that shot in both of those directors' movies. You see them frequently. The low angle looking up with the gun right at the camera. There's things like that in there, and I got to think Quentin Tarantino really was a big fan of Roger's character, just because some of the dialogue where he's like, saying baby, and he's he's just trying to be like the cool guy. He's smoking the cigarettes the whole movie. Some interesting things there, but you could see some influence.
But he forgot his tool bag.
Oh man, listen, you could break this movie into chapters, right? Like chapter 1 is Willie goes ape shit, and that scene.
Racist character.
Oh man. Yeah. But the line is directly Willie goes ape shit, and that's when you get Ken Foree's introduction, right? They all have their gas masks on in the project building, and Willie's going crazy, killing everybody. And then here's Ken Foree in the back, just towering over everybody else, and just takes him out. And, he's just, the size of him is just like, whoa, who's this guy? Right? He means business, not to be messed with. And, you look at Rogers, was just a small guy. And if you want to talk about like the specifics of these characters, I thought the main four that are in this, you have Ken Foree playing Peter, Galen Ross as Fran, David Emge as Steven, and Scott Reininger as Roger.
Just call him Flyboy. Flyboy
Steven, yeah. Well cast. I think they all played their roles well. I felt right at the onset when Steven is just kind of like, I don't really like him. There's something about this guy I don't really like. And that stuck with me the entire movie. I never was like, oh, Steven, yeah, he's all right. I was always pulling for Peter and Roger. And, Fran was good. And I liked that, she was like, I want to learn stuff. I want to learn to fly the helicopter, which is like a huge skill set. God forbid one of them, or Steven goes down and nobody knows how to fly the helicopter. I mean, Steven to me was just the selfish character, even leading up at the end. I mean, if he's like, this is our stuff, this is ours. We worked for this, which they could have just let the bikers come and go, but he had to push the envelope and, led to his demise. But they're all like very much, for me, believable, and the way, like the whole arc that they travel along, right? Like the panic at the beginning, and where are we going to go? What are we going to do? And, you see all along the way, they have to make a stop for fuel and supplies. And you start to see that Steven is just, a danger to everyone. He can't shoot a gun. He's not considering safety of the group. And he puts some of them in danger, and they let him know about it, and that kind of unfolds throughout the movie. But I really think that it was cast well, and even going along with like the races of the roles and the genders of the roles was really well done in this movie. To go along with what you said, how you just kind of you are rooting for like this diverse group, and Peter's the de facto leader. It's a great role.
So I got two things. Number one is, I don't know if you remember or not in the film, they're getting ready to fly the helicopter. They stop at the checkpoint before they pick up Peter and Roger. And he's inside. Hey, this checkpoint's basically abandoned at this point. And the road cops show up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of holding guns on them. And you kind of think, this might not turn out the best if Peter and Roger didn't come along.
Mm-hmm.
That something else could have certainly transpired at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are like little hints about that, like, okay, maybe we just can be on our way now. Okay, we can live with that.
Yeah, but their whole tune changes once they see who rolls up, and it's the SWAT guys.
So I used to work in a mall. I don't know if you know that or not. As security. Worked there for a summer. And I had the overnight shift.
Mm.
12 p.m. until 8 a.m. And you want to talk about being freaked out. You're in a giant building alone. People driving around all times of night through this parking lot. I don't know if you remember or not, they had those little weight scales in the corners by the shops. Have you checked your weight today, it would say?
Right, yeah.
You had to walk by for it to go off. Otherwise, it wouldn't go off. I would be on the other side of the mall, and I hear that thing going off. Yeah.
Yeah. That's freaky.
That's scary. Yeah. Oh, freaky. Yeah, look. And you're like, what the? I was just over there. And you're like, is somebody here? I remember one time I brought my weights in, and I'm sitting there working out because it was July 4th. So, it's like 8 o'clock at night. I'm not getting any overtime. I'm making $5.25 an hour. I'll sit there and I'll bring my dumbbells and I'll work out. This car pulls up right in front of the doorway, puts its high beams on, and just sits there.
That's nice.
Watching me. Watching me.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not armed. 20 years old. You think I'm going outside that door?
Nope.
No way. Not a chance. And you're sitting there reading Stephen King all night.
Yeah.
So it kind of wears on you. You got to open up the mall at 6 o'clock for the joggers to come in. The mall walkers.
Yep.
So again, it was one of those interesting experiences. So it certainly is a creepy place. You'd be driving around outside. You just see the street cleaver coming through, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then the guy who leaves the bread outside the restaurant. And everything's timed like in the movie, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely probably gave you some nostalgia rewatching this thing.
Oh, look, like I said, both movies are really good. Can't really argue against that. Much better than Day of the Dead, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
This team with Flat Top.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know that you can film that today. They CGI that.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's obvious he's got the extended, cap. But even if he's off by an inch or two.
Incredibly dangerous stunt.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibly reckless. It's clever, but at what cost? that guy could have easily had a horrible accident. But it's definitely like when you're seeing that stunt for the first time, probably back in 1978 when this movie came out, it was like, whoa, that was pretty crazy. How'd you do that? But yeah, nowadays that would full CGI. We're not going to put anybody at risk for that. Yeah.
Now let me ask you a question. Remember the Hicktown that they're flying over?
Yes.
They're having the big shootout,
Yes.
and everybody's drinking coffee with the army, and everybody's having a good time. How long before supplies run out for that town? How long before dog eats dog and people start going after their neighbors and factioning up? Let's face it, government probably is gone within a couple weeks.
Yeah. That scenario, I 100% agree. Definitely happened. They're just popping off rounds like it's target practice there, right? Eventually, you're not going to have a surplus. You're going to be down to what you got, and that's all there is. And the military guys have ammo. What happens there? Like you said, factions. Well, Bill's house down the road, they got some, supplies. We're going to go take what they have. And, if they want to join us, fine. But if not, too bad. That definitely happened. Like the full-on collapse of civilization. I like that scene because it shows just how easy it was for those guys at that time, right? But the point you bring up that, okay, yeah, it's easy right now, but, we get introduced to the biker gang later who are just, like a roving, army of rogues. That's like kind of what it ends up as, right? Like you see these guys are with the military, they're keeping, taking out the zombies and just having a good old time. But what they become, or not that specific group, but what they would likely become is something like what we see with the biker gang at the end. Just going around, taking supplies, taking what they need and moving on. It's an interesting scene when they're doing that. Those guys were in their element. Oh yeah, let's go hunt. But
I have to ask a question now.
Yeah.
Do you think at any point in making the 2004 version, Zack Snyder thought we have to have these guys, the zombies, walking slow? Because that's the major difference between the two movies, right? I mean,
yeah,
you basically have the 28 Days Later zombies running after people.
Yeah. Yep.
Versus,
I think it's more like you kind of have to update the genre somewhat. In 2004, what's scary about a slow-moving zombie, right? It's just...
But it's fun. But it's fun because you always think, I can outrun that guy.
Yes.
I can outsmart him.
Yes.
I can get behind the fountain
and
I'll buy myself time to figure out a way to get him in the head.
Yes. And I think that point that you just laid out is portrayed in the 78 version with Roger. In what I call the Roger gets cocky chapter. Okay.
Not the biker who sticks his arm in the blood pressure machine chapter?
No. But that guy, I mean, he's just fully like, oh, I really want to check my blood pressure at all costs. But like to talk about the slow moving zombies, and the scene I'm talking about is when they're getting the trucks and they're moving them in front of to block the doors at the mall. And Peter's driving the trailer truck to shuttle, him and Roger back and forth after Roger parks the other truck in front of the doors. They get in, they go back, they get another truck, they repeat. Now, all through the course of this, Roger is getting cockier and cockier. He's moving quickly in between them. He's handling himself. He's knocking them over with a gun, a punch, a shove. He's got it covered, right? Like he can't be touched. And he starts to get cockier and cockier, just like you said. They're slow. I can outmaneuver him. I can go over here and do this. And ultimately, that's what does Roger in. Instead of him just, I forgot my bag. Well, let's just keep going. We'll get it. We'll get the bag. We'll come back and get it, right? When there's less there, all right, or we'll have a little more room to do it. Instead, they go back and he drops down in the middle of this mass of zombies and does not go well for him. So you're right. That part, it is fun. It's kind of like, I could escape this. This is no sweat. But that's what does Roger in the end. Now, for 2004, I think just a general audience perspective, that's not scary as much, right? For a general 2004 audience versus 1978, right? They want the action. They want the, oh, whoa, here it comes. It's coming after me. It's right on top of me, right? I think it's just the expectation is changed. And like you said, 28 days later really changed it, right? Where they're sprinting after you, right? There's, you better have your cardio up because they're coming. They're coming. So I think they had to tweak it for those reasons. And it works really well. But I think you kind of have to change it. Now, with other like zombie universe things like Walking Dead, they're slow moving. But the zombies weren't, at some point, don't become the main threat. It's people versus people, right? Like you get halfway through that series and that's faction versus faction. Zombies are just kind of there for a couple kill scenes. It's... I'm trying to think of like a slow moving horror. Maybe It Follows would be like a slow moving, very slow. Here it comes. It's so slow, but I know it's always coming no matter what. That's kind of scary, but it's not like what you see often anymore. So I think it's mostly like just what audiences expect. 28 Days Later kind of killed that.
Was there? I know for me, I'm just going to speak in general here. There was one scene, or maybe one group of characters in the 2004 that just really bothered me. I mean, I just like every time they came on, and I was just like, man, why am I watching these people? And that was the guy they meet in the beginning and the pregnant girlfriend.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he's like delivering the baby, and I'm just like, he's shooting the lady, and I'm like.
That I 100% agree. I dislike those characters. I mean, when you're introduced to them, okay, not bad, but they just become like you're very hard to like. And I think that maybe it's by design. That you kind of where they end up, right? Like they're gonna deliver the baby, but the girlfriend's dead, but she's not really dead. I don't know. Those characters were hard to enjoy when they had screen time.
I'm trying to think of the guy's name who played the character in that.
Oh yeah,
because he's a popular guy. I mean, it's not like he's.
Oh yeah.
Mickey Pfeiffer, yeah.
Yes.
Pfeiffer,
Yeah.
And
he's been in a lot of movies. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot. I mean, a lot of movies. And then, of course, they had the pop-ups by Ken Foray and Tom Savini in the movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, shoot him in the head. You got hit him in the head.
We got a Twitcher.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. Yeah. But I mean,
Twitcher.
And maybe this is just me already seeing the future with the 1978 version. What are the stupid things that these people do to get themselves killed? I mean, you mentioned Roger going back for the bag and being cocky. What are the other things that you saw?
Well, Steven, he's greedy. He's greedy, and at the end, all he had to do was just let the bikers come and go. And Peter even says it to him. They're just going to take what they want and leave, right? We could just gonna hide, hang back. We'll be fine. But Steven can't let that happen, right? He's sitting there looking over the park bench with a rifle, and he's saying, "This is ours. We work for this." And then he pops off some shots, and it does him in eventually. He gets trapped and buys it in the elevator, but unnecessary, right? Like he could have just listened to Peter, and he'd still be around. They could have hid behind their hidden wall in their little storage room and been fine, but he couldn't let it go.
But the Hare Krishna coming up the stairs. to get that one.
Peter, I don't know if they get a little bit comfortable, at some point. But Peter kind of, I feel like, is always the one kind of like, all right, we got to clean this place out, right? There's all corpses in here. We got to take them out. We got to get rid of it, right? He's the one that's always kind of reality check, right? Roger's celebrating. He's like, no, we got more work to do, right? Fran, I don't know if Fran, early on, she's much more like vulnerable to something happening, right? She's not as aware or capable as she is as the movie goes on, right? Early on, she's just kind of standing there in the woods. Steven's like, run, and she's still standing there, like that when they land the helicopter to get fuel, and he goes to check the hangar. She goes with him. They walk right into a zombie, and he's struggling with it, and he yells to her, run, and she just stands there, right? Run. Like, what are you doing? So early on, she's like that. But as the movie progresses, she's much more capable and able to handle herself. Like when they come out of the gun shop, and they're full of bullet belts, all of them. All of them. Even Roger in his little wheelbarrow, he's got bullet belts all over him. Like, Roger was careless too. We talked about that, but it always does them in, and I think it's the getting comfortable and cocky, and then they just start to. Somebody does something stupid and gets himself killed or bit. And that's what we see in the '78 one.
I have to mention the lady who goes across the street for the dog in the 2004 version.
Oh yeah, that's 100%.
I was just like, I would have left her because she gets the other guy killed.
Listen, Scraps.
And then they lose the mall as a result of that.
All because of the dog.
Pushed up.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong.
Andy dies because of that.
The Ty Burrell character, he basically lied to them. Oh yeah, I had this working boat, and we're gonna go. The boat doesn't work as well as he says it does.
Yeah.
Just, and then of course they get to the island, and it's not, things aren't working out so well there either. And the one girl gets chainsawed. I mean, why would you put a chainsaw on a moving car? I don't understand that. I mean, that's just a recipe for disaster. Then you're setting off explosives, so the guy's like,
yeah.
I just,
the dog was the domino that just set off the whole end stage of that movie. Scraps, like, come on. And that girl, like, oh, Scraps. And like, if you just start chalking up the body count from that moment to the end, it wipes out the entire group and Andy. And, you're left with Ving Rhames, the two kids on the boat, and the dog. That's it. And that group was deep. They had how many people in that group at the?
It was two carfuls.
Yeah, they had the two big trucks leaving there. But even before then, they still had I don't remember the characters' names, but you had the older woman who drove the truck, and you still had Mekhi Phifer and Luda, before they, met their demise. So you had a deep group, and Scraps and that the one girl got everybody killed. That's pretty wild.
Well, I mean, then you got the Ty Burrell character locking them out in the stairwell too. I mean, the guy, oh yeah, you stay here, okay? Yeah, okay, not a problem. And then they leave.
yeah.
I'm not gonna wait here anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, were you guys looking for me? Oh, yeah. I'm down here kicking the bobo in the parking garage for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Did you guys leave? Oh, God, I forgot about that. That's execution right there. It's like, yeah, this is not going to work.
Yep.
I think you need to stay here. But look, both were good movies. I just had a deeper appreciation the second time around, especially the opening scene where the little girl, she walks into the bedroom and she's as a nurse, she's seeing a little bit of what's going on, but there's not a lot of. Oh, we had to restrain this guy and strap him in, and at the hospital, and they're kind of discussing some things. It's kind of mentioned in the background. It's not prevalent yet. And even, she's flipping through the radio stations. I don't want to listen to this. I nowadays, I mean, if you don't have cable, I mean, you're on Netflix and you've totally disconnected yourself. How would you know if there's a terrorist attack? I mean, I guess maybe your phone will pop up or your feed. I mean,
yeah, you'd get a Twitter notification or X. You get an X notification.
yeah.
But
It's a shame because you don't get the updates that you would.
No,
when
nobody
there was a
listens
lot
to the
of-
radio for the news anymore.
Yeah,
Nobody
I mean,
watches the
that's
news for the news.
Where were you when you found out about 9/11? I mean, I can remember exactly and putting the news on.
Yep. I was off from work. I remember it clearly, clear as day. Different generation that we live in now. But I agree. For me, it was watching. I've seen the 2004 one. It might have been like 2-3 months ago. I rewatched it, and that one was more fresh. Now I haven't seen the 78 version in maybe like 10 years or so. So I got a little more enjoyment out of the 78 one because I've seen the 2004 one so much lately. And I think it's actually still on Netflix for a week more maybe. I think it's leaving.
That's what
Netflix.
it was. Yeah, I was lucky enough to catch it before I had to pay for it. Yeah.
Now, if you go on YouTube, I watched I forget, it was a 2.5 hour cut of Dawn of the Dead.
I watched the same one.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool because
Commercial free, by the way. It was commercial free. I had no commercials.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So I got a lot of enjoyment out of watching that because it's been so long. But yeah, both good movies. Both good movies.
I can't argue with it. Which would you rather watch at this point?
I got to be honest. 2004 is an easier one for me to watch, and I think
it's a lot shorter. For sure.
What's that?
It's a lot shorter too.
It's shorter. It's more. I think part of it is more modern. The 78 one is the whole soundtrack is like it's very dated to that time. It's a lot of synth and, you get a lot of those moments of just synthesizers and happy, we're running back and forth, happy synthesizer music. And it's very dated. And, if you're not braced for that, then you might not enjoy it. But the 2004 one is very easy to watch. Like you said, shorter. It's easy to get right through it. And it's good. I think 78 is more of an like you need to be a fan, I think, of the genre really to get into 78.
Well, I mean, until the end of it, I think, where the biker group comes in and they start acting the fool, and you start seeing all the blood, and the guys getting killed and ripped apart by the zombies just because they're being stupid. But let me ask you a question now. You know who Max Headroom is, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's in the movie, of course, the 2004 version. Matt Frewer.
Yep.
And he just got bit, and he basically changes. As does the guy across the street. I forget his name, Andy.
Yes.
Both of them change within like a day.
Yes.
After being bit. Now here you got Luda. They don't give you a real time frame, but you assume it's got to be a couple days at least.
Mm-hmm.
Before she's tied up and put in the bed. I mean, now how come? The infection took so long for her and not.
And she just kind of, yeah.
I'm assuming. I mean, she had the whole nursery set up at that point, and it's like, I just, he's having conversations with her in the bathroom, and you could tell it's been a day or two, and I'm like, all right, well.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, there was a little bit of a disconnect there for me, but.
Yeah, that is definitely a little bit of a plot point you can argue. Like, what? What is going on?
I have another question for you. Were you almost sad that they didn't do a sequel to the 2004 Dawn of the Dead?
I was. I was.
Back in the boat, and he gets away. Maybe he was the only survivor. I would have enjoyed seeing something like that.
What I liked at the end of 2004 was you kind of get the found video footage over the credits at the end, which kind of gives you a little bit, this is what happened when they got on the boat and got to the island. and it's not good, right? Like it's awful. But I would have loved to see, okay, what happens from that point on. I would have loved to seen a sequel to it. It's a shame we never got one. I think they did. There was a Day of the Dead movie, but I don't know if it was continuity wise.
There were two of them after that, but
Ving Rhames was in one of them, I think, right?
yeah, he was, and
But it wasn't.
He was a
continuity.
military guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a military guy.
Yeah, it's a shame that it never got followed up. Because I would have liked to see it. Yeah, I would have definitely
And
liked to see it.
you're talking about the end credit scene, the scene where they're opening up the cooler on the boat.
Yeah,
And that's like,
yeah.
why would you put that in there? And then I don't, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, you want a head? No problem. Here you go. I don't understand, you know, but it was pretty cool. It was definitely pretty cool. And so let me ask you a question. If all the stores in the mall, what would be the first one you rated if you were there? Either one,
Man.
2004 or 78 or whatever.
I mean, first thing I'm doing is a gun store. I am stockpiling ammo, and then I'm going to get, rations, food, whatever, supplies I need, but I think I'm going to that gun store and I'm getting what I need. I'm going to be well equipped. They do a little more with the, I'm trying to think in the 2004, did they use any of the stores like specifically? Like I know they use the security room, which is a different wrinkle. But that gun store in the 78 one, like it was just stocked. No, the gun store is where Andy is in 2004. It's across the street, right?
Right.
That's where they get the guns, right? So, definitely the gun store, I think. What about you?
I think you gotta have a little fun with it, and maybe that's just me. I mean, you got all these restaurants in there. I mean, let's face it, there's still Applebee's at the malls here and stuff. You got steaks in there, food. I mean, you gotta treat yourself to a good meal. I mean, at this point, the world's on fire. I mean, you might not get another meal at this point.
This is true.
Maybe that's just for me. I mean,
No, that's a good point. It's a good point.
I go to the mall today, and it's like, okay, what do I want? Will I stop at any of these stores? And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, probably not, because they're all overpriced. Once you get a pair of shoes and socks, and do I need any of this stuff? I mean, what, Spencer's? Okay, I go in there, I get a look at the gag stuff in there.
Yeah.
In a comic book store? Okay, maybe.
I don't know if you could do a movie like this now, though, because the malls are like empty. There's just empty stores.
Well, now Monmouth's all housing.
Yeah, there's nothing in Monmouth Mall anymore.
They have the low-income housing.
So when Steven lands the helicopter on Monmouth Mall, they go inside. They're like, "Oh man,
Low-income housing. We can't do this.
There's nothing here."
Damn you, Murphy! Damn you! Oh, we can't. Yeah. That's as far as in the politics I'll go. But so from Christopher Michael Blake, author of the Cape May Murders, comes his new book, Seance, book 1 of the Summer's End Witches series. When Nancy moves into her ancestral estate, she and her new friends discover a book of spells that catapult them from the social wallflowers of Talbot High School to the popular girls. But not everybody's happy with Nancy's newfound popularity when the spell book is stolen and the town of Summer's End is threatened, leaving Nancy and her friends to risk their lives to save the town, while also running the risk of exposing themselves as witches. Can Nancy return things to the way they were and find time to date Talbot High's star quarterback? Seance is now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNobles.com. This is also a good time to promote our next show on April 11th. We'll have Dr. Alton Simpson on, founder of Vampires of New Jersey and Werewolves of Brooklyn. He's also the head of his own media company. Did you get a chance to look at his bio by any chance?
Yes, I did.
Pretty impressive, huh?
Yes.
He has his PhD, too. He didn't tell you he has his PhD. He has his PhD. It's one of those, oh, yeah, but I had to sue the school. Great guy, all around supporter. I think he's one of the first people who bought my book. Just an all around talented guy. He was telling me a story about he made this movie as a family movie comedy that he wrote, and he put his kids in the movie. And at the time, I guess you could just upload movies directly to Amazon to stream. And some people really, really enjoyed his movie so much they just kept buying his movies and kept playing them for years. So
I'm excited to speak with him. That's going to be a good episode. Don't miss it. Tune in for that. That's scheduled for April 11th. Yeah, go check out Dr. Alton Simpson's works. Christopher, that's Werewolves of Brooklyn, Blackjack, Witches of Westchester, Bunny Goes to Space are just a few.
Very hot shit, I'll tell you.
Go check those out.
He's got some good taste right there. Is your business looking for an affordable way to gain and attract new clients, including Bunny from Space? RealGeekMediaEntertainment.com is now offering sponsorships on their podcast and website. That's right, you could be here with us discussing the Witches of Westchester and Vampires in New Jersey. What's that? Your business can't afford a sponsorship? No problem. Consider running an advertisement during one of our podcast shows. Advertising starts at the low price of just $50. Now think about it. $50 is about what Boeing spends on their airplanes to secure the latch on the side of their airplane before it takes off. I mean, look, if it's good enough for Boeing, it's good enough for us. So visit RealGeekMedia.com. That's spelled out REEL, geekmedia.com. Click on the link for sponsor us, advertise with us, or donate here to get started. That's www.realgeekmedia.com. So, Hayden, we had to discuss the movies from the last 2 weeks in terms of what came out. And I was very surprised with the results.
Okay.
Because once again, we're in a gray area with some of the results. Write down the results of. Do you happen to take a look at what the numbers were?
I don't have them.
Okay.
I thought I wrote them, but I don't.
Start with the easy one. There was a clear-cut winner here.
Got it.
Kung Fu Panda 4.
Ah.
I guessed 27 million. You guessed 35. What do you think that the total was?
I haven't looked at it. I don't know.
55 million.
Really?
Opening. Oh yeah.
Big opening weekend.
I went to go see it.
Did you like it?
Yeah. My daughter enjoyed it more than I did.
Got it.
I'll leave it at that. Not terrible. Definitely. I gave you the book Save the Cat.
Yes.
And there's a clear cut. No, I mean.
They reference.
There's a definite beginning where he has to transition and he has to accept this promotion, but he doesn't want to accept it. And he meets his new characters, and he now has to pick his successor from those characters. Now, I'm not ruining anything with the plot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's basic. And he has to come to grips with wanting to do that on his own and pick a successor in order to save everybody. So again, if you read the Save the Cat model on how to write a script, it's verbatim, right out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it does enhance the movie because you sit there and say, I know where he's going with this. All right, here we go. Arthur the King, the Mark Wahlberg dog film.
Mm-hmm.
You guessed 14 million. I guessed 9.1. The actual retail price, $8 million. Yes, I won that
you
one.
Got that one.
Yeah, so we're
That's
one.
very close.
We're tied at this point.
Okay.
Here comes the gray area. You ready? Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire.
Oh boy.
You guessed 48.
Mm-hmm.
I guessed 42. The actual retail number was 45.
Ah, well, I got to give it to you because I went over. I went over.
Right down the middle.
I gotta say that's a very disappointing number for Ghostbusters.
So?
I do.
I wouldn't think so.
Well, what is the budget for?
It had to be 200 million, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'm curious. I got to look at what box office is for that right now.
Because you got to think they probably took in another 16 million in China.
You think they're over 100 million?
By this point, I
Oh,
guarantee you the budget for that was 200 million. It had to be.
let's take a peek real quick.
And I
Frozen.
gotta say this too. I was looking at some pictures of the
All right.
stills from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Ernie Hudson looks the best out of all those
Man,
guys.
I'm telling you, Ernie
Better than
Hudson.
Paul Rudd. He looks better than Bill Murray. He looks better. I mean, that's not hard to look better than Dan Aykroyd at this point. But I mean,
He's 78 and he looks great.
is that right?
He
I mean,
looks
I was
great.
60s.
Yeah, he looks great.
Wow, that's amazing.
Okay, $100 million budget.
That was it?
Box office thus far, 61.6 million.
That was with China, I think, included.
So that's kind of rough.
No,
But that's a low
good.
budget. That's less than
That's
I
good.
would have thought.
A lot of CGI. I'm not a fan of this Wolfgang guy. I'm not.
No.
I mean, I hate to say
Finn
that.
Wolfhard. Yeah, I don't see
Wolf, yeah, I think whatever his name is, I'm really just not.
Yeah.
He's just not doing it for me. You know, if I want to see a geek, you know, go watch some porn. I mean, I don't need to do this. You know. So 2 movies that are coming out in the next 2 weeks before April 11th. I'll give you the first one.
it. Okay.
Godzilla versus Kong.
Uh,
I am not a Godzilla guy. There are
Yeah.
a lot of people who are. I know the last one got really favorable reviews.
this is
Maybe
the
you get
this is
excited
the
about this. I just
this is the Godzilla team up with Kong.
right.
And what is it? Godzilla and Kong New Empire, I think is the name of it.
Old
Massive.
Empire, new,
I think
new
it's-
Empire. Who cares? It's-
What interests me about this movie, right?
Oh, okay.
So the other night, with my son, we're just popped on YouTube and we're looking at movie trailers, right? We're checking out the Alien Romulus trailer, and some other trailers, and then he's like, "Hey, let's look at that trailer," and it's Godzilla and Kong. So we watch it, and I look over at him. He's like, "Can we go see that?" And I'm like, I was like, the trailer, I mean, it's not what, like, for me, right? It's not what I like, right? But it got him interested in it, right? And to the point where he wants to go see it. So mission accomplished for the trailer, you know, like, but that's like, you know, you're the 14-year-old boy.
Well, I
right?
know there's a lot of Godzilla fans out there. I know because I'm friends with them on Facebook, and they're diehard Godzilla fans.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think it's going to do pretty good. It's
I mean,
not,
like Pacific Rim good. I mean, or
It-
Pacific Rim 2 good.
I think it'll do.
Not good at all.
Listen, I love Pacific Rim 1. Like the second one, I wish never
It
happened.
was okay. It was the problem I have is you have to put 2 people in this machine to make it work, and I'm just sitting there thinking,
Yeah. Godzilla, I'm going to go 40.
I am going to go 32.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going 32 on
Close.
that.
We're close.
Uh,
That one's going to be 35, and we're going to be like,
yeah, it'll be 36. It'll be down the middle. The next one is not a very big box office movie. It's a prequel. I think it's like the 10th prequel. I don't know. Again, I'm not excited about this one either. I'm much more excited about Abigail on the 19th. I think that looks fantastic. That's like my, okay, you got some snarky one-liners. You got Gus Fring in there. I'm ready to go. But this one's the first Omen.
yeah.
Is it the prequel that we did not need?
I
think
gotta be honest. Like, I'm not hearing any buzz about this movie at all.
I'm going to tell you what. This is what the funny part is. Did you see what's opening again this weekend for a wide release?
This weekend?
Yes.
What?
It's playing at the Marquee, so if you want to change our date to Friday, we can do it. This movie's already made 5 times the amount of its money.
Okay.
We reviewed it earlier this year.
Okay.
in terms of the box office, and we were both shocked at how it exceeded our expectations.
Argyle.
No, they're going wide release with this. It was a small time movie,
Okay.
and it is now getting a wide release after it did $5 million at the box office on a budget of $1 million. And it's a sequel.
Is this the Winnie the Pooh?
Yes, wide release.
That's pretty crazy. But
yeah.
Did you see what I sent you about that?
Look,
I'm gonna pull it up.
I know I've seen this universe, and I say to myself, do we really need this? It's not working for the Marvel universe at this point. So for you to sit there and tell me we need Peter Pan, and Eeyore, and Tigger universe, and all these, we got to bring all these different horror things in.
You know what this has though that Marvel doesn't?
Tits.
Well,
I'm hoping.
what else this has that Marvel doesn't?
Because you know I give 1 star for tits right off the bat.
It's
you give me nudity, I'm there.
this is.
I'm there.
You have, what is the next one here? It's called Bambi the Reckoning.
I just
Okay.
I can't.
Winnie the Pooh 2, you said $5 million on a $1 million budget, right?
Yes, on a opening weekend.
So if they're going to launch a
Limited release.
a universe based on the strength of very small budget movies that people are like, oh, this is going to be funny, tongue-in-cheek horror movie about Winnie the Pooh. Okay. And, Bambi, Peter Pan, Pinocchio, and then it's going to be like their Avengers movie. Listen, it's probably better than the Marvels. It's probably better than Ant-Man Quantumania. It's probably better than
argue with that. I really can't.
Than Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I don't know. Like what? I think people might be interested. So we'll see what happens with that. But that is very interesting that it's getting a wide release.
Look, I was just as shocked as you are. I still don't have any intentions on seeing either one of them. Again, that could change. I mean, I've heard positive things about Late Night with the Devil. I've heard good things about that. That was a movie that was, again, very low budget movie put out about a talk show.
Mm-hmm.
And he's interviewing the devil. Okay.
Looks interesting.
I would rather watch that.
Sure. That's more like our speed.
Of a slow burn.
Yeah.
It's probably more of a slow burn. But, something that we would take big Oz to, go see Winnie the Pooh. Absolutely. And maybe we will. I just mentioned it. Maybe, because we have an extra week now in between April 11th. It's
right.
Not,
yeah.
It's not exactly 2 weeks, I think. It's a little bit more. But first, Omen, what's your projection?
And I'm just factoring in that I don't think I've even seen a commercial for a trailer for this movie. I've seen the trailer, but I don't, see any advertising for it. So I'm going to go low here. I'm going to go 4.5. Actually, you know what? Let me revise that. What's the rating on it? Is it R?
I gotta imagine it would be, but I'm not sure on that.
Let me go.
Let me find out for you real quick before we.
Let me go. I'll go 6. I'll go 6.
Wow. Okay. You're nicer than I am.
If it's PG-13, I might go lower because I feel like it's more accessible, but people are going to be like, "This is garbage."
It is rated R.
Yeah.
I'll go 4.1. I don't think your 4.5 was off at all.
Mm.
And that's. I mean, I hate to say this is an easy over. I mean, it really is. But.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? But we're going to see Dune 2 this week.
Yes.
Not Winnie the Pooh 2.
Dune 2, part of the Duneverse.
Look, don't touch my pot of honey, okay?
Just substitute the honey for the spice of Arrakis, and it's
oh yeah, well,
a 1-for-1 swap.
Is Zendaya showing her tits in this movie? I don't know. Yeah, that's already taken away a star from me right there. All right. I hate to say it like that. So,
4-star classic.
I got to ask you a question. I mean, like Joe Bob Briggs movies, right?
Yes.
Again, man, he told me what I was
Listen.
expecting. I was like, man, that's what. Yes, this is what I'm tuning in for.
That show,
Wow, yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that show, because that just brings me right back to, like you were talking about, staying up late and watching that and catching the movie. And then you got Joe Bob Briggs in between, with his little commentary and,
With the trailer park girl walking out with the big rack and the Daisy Dukes on. Yeah, I mean, that's what it was.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, it's not sugar coated. I mean, that's
what
it was.
So I was watching. I was watching.
Okay. Oh yeah. Do you know what happened to know what July 20th is this year coming up, Hayden?
July 20th.
It's a big sporting event.
Sporting event. SummerSlam.
No.
Is it the All-Star game for MLB?
It is not. I think it's bigger than both of those.
Bigger than both. Would that be
Netflix's big premiere of their first ever live sporting event?
Is this Tyson and Jake Paul?
Now, what is your take on this? I have to find out.
I've got to think that.
So go ahead.
I've got to think that whatever the rules are for this thing, they're going to fall in favor of Jake Paul. Listen, I think Tyson could end it in one punch. Easy.
At 58.
Easy. Like, no question. But I don't think that's going to happen because you're going to get a couple rounds. I would love to see Tyson knock him out. I think that would be tremendous, right? Like, he still looks, very formidable for his age, right? Like, very scary. Like, what he can do. Like, he's just this solid thing, and he's still fast. Jake Paul, I mean, like, a lot of people are going to be watching this. A lot of eyes are on it. Netflix has a lot of subscriptions, and that's a lot of access to views. And this thing is going to do insane numbers. And I think what's interesting about it is the model of Netflix covering this, right? It's something that you would typically see on like a pay-per-view basis. Netflix is going to, I mean, I don't know if it's going to boost subscriptions, but you're going to get all those, remember growing up, Steven's got the fight. We're all going to go to his house and get pizzas and watch the fight. And, it's going to be one of those where everybody's going to go to one person's house. I don't know if it's going to boost people's subscriptions for Netflix, but it's going to have a ton of eyes on it. And people are already subscribers, so Netflix already has the money, right? It's interesting. Now, in line with this, the WWE, I think it's Raw. Is it Raw is going to be broadcast live on Netflix in 2025? I think their new TV deal is through Netflix. So this is kind of like the first live broadcast for like the sporting event, but eventually that's going to be the normal thing for them. Every Monday night you're going to be watching Raw on Netflix, right? So we get to see what that's kind of going to look like with this fight. But I got to think like the rules are kind of in place to just let this thing play out.
Like them hitting in the face?
There's got to be something. I just can't see them. Because Tyson could end this thing in like 2 minutes, right? Like, if that. He connects with that.
So now,
it's over.
My problem with this is when Jake Paul fought Floyd Mayweather. I mean, I think that they were whispering to each other, "Hey, slow it down." You know. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, if it's coordinated like that, will Tyson abide by that, or is he going to be like just crazy?
Yeah,
he's not all there.
See, he's in the ring, like he's going to flash back to it's a title fight.
I mean, I hate to say this, he is but Jake Paul is not a chump either.
No,
he is. He's a professional boxer, professional athlete.
Yeah.
In order to get in the ring with the WWE guys, better be in shape.
He,
And doing the high, flying stuff that he does.
I think that's his brother that does that.
How's that right?
Yeah, but he's
That's right.
listen, Jake. He's been in the ring with guys that are
I
MMA
knew I thought
guys.
that was him.
No,
I made that wrong.
that's what's the other Paul? Uh, Logan Paul.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Oh, well, maybe that does change my my attitude towards this then. But
I Jake is still no slouch. I mean, he's done all these other fights, like you said, Mayweather and some of these MMA guys that he's fought. Um, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, Tyson's really like name recognition, and I think a lot of people are going to be watching to see what Tyson can still do, and hoping that he could, put him down on the canvas. But we'll see.
what do you think a floor seat costs for that event?
Oh, it's got to be insanity.
Go ahead, give me a number.
Floor seats, thousands of dollars, 5,000.
Man, you're good.
Is it?
$5,145.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So if you
But
think
that's why I
crazy,
have Netflix. I don't have to pay $5,000.
if you think that's crazy, listen to this next one. The insanity that is New York. How much would you cry? How much would you spend to cry in New York? You're laughing. I'm serious.
How much would I spend? Like I got to pay
Right.
money to do it?
So in New York now, there are these new pop-up cry spas where you can walk into the room on your bathroom break or your lunch break, pop down your money, and cry for a half hour before going back to work so nobody gets to see you.
My
I
goodness.
kid you not with this.
My goodness. Is this like a corporate thing, or is this public
Again,
access?
I have no idea about that, but
Hmm.
I'm just sitting here thinking prostitution? I mean, that's just my guess. If you're renting out a room for crying, I mean, who's to say I'm not going to bring a chick in there with me and
Cry together.
let me get this. Oh yeah, exactly. So for a half hour, it's actually $20.
Oh my gosh. But this is, I think, part of the
That might be cheaper than most people's rent in New York right now, by the way.
fair point.
So
Fair point. You could rent the thing out for like a week. I don't know what
So-
to think about that.
well, it makes two of us. I think it's a real declination on her statement of our society. I'll tell you that. I
Yeah.
just
Well,
you know,
you
you
look at
cry for free. I mean, it's
they have
it's even
at
$20 in your pocket.
colleges they have during like finals weeks they have like therapy animals and ice cream stations. When we went to college, we didn't have any of that, right? But it's a different generation now that they need to have a release, and I'm not going to understand that, but it's a total different generation of workforce, right? Like people joining the workforce if they're lucky to find a job. You have to kind of model your way through how to work with some of the people, right? Because it's such a different approach, right? Like you need a fidget toy or a stuffed animal. It's okay. I mean, it's kind of where we are now, right? You and I never needed that. You and I never needed. We could do a job interview, right? Like, these statement with the kids and the feelings and everything's through an electronic device or their phone, so it's harder for them to kind of
I'm glad you mentioned therapy animal, because that brings me to my next story. Because I got a lot of stories here, by the way, so we've got plenty of time. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. Are you aware of the Japanese city and the chemical cat?
no.
So I guess last week, Japan warned their citizens about a cat who fell into a vat of toxic chemicals at a plant.
became the Joker.
Well, maybe. Hold on now. Sessi City is on high alert for a potentially toxic cat who fell into a vat of carcinogenic chemicals. Again, that's basically what's in tobacco, right?
That's
At a steel
great.
manufacturing plant, and then escaped into the streets in a scene reminiscent of a Marvel character's origin story. This is from New York Post, by the way. Citizens were warned to be on the lookout for an abnormal-looking cat and instructed not to approach or touch the cat, but instead call the police so they could put it in your food. The feline, who seemingly used up one of his 9 lives, is believed to have fallen into a tank of molten chromium at the Namura planning factory over the weekend. The worker who arrived for their shift on Monday discovered a mysterious trail of yellow paw prints across the parking lot.
Oh my God.
I'm glad this stuff happens over there.
That's...
Employees then checked the security camera. Let's face it, there's nobody doing rounds there all weekend. Why would they? Found footage showing the kitty entering the factory the night before. They believe the cat climbed into the sheet and plunged into the vat of toxic chemical, which is kept at 122 degrees Fahrenheit. The chromium can cause a variety of health effects, from skin irritation, rashes, and respiratory problems to blindness and cancer, according to OCC.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All I am envisioning is Joker cat origin. Right? It comes out and it was a black cat. Now it's white with red paint and green fur on its head.
I think that's the lead story for how they're writing Bambi, The Reckoning.
Yeah.
Bambi falls into a vat of chromium and just...
Oh, man. I mean, there you go.
I think I just wrote their movie for them. They should pay me.
You
Because I guarantee you they don't have a script like that. So I have to ask. Have you ever stalked a female before?
No.
Really?
Yes.
Am I the only one? I will admit to parking outside a female's house before.
Okay.
I will admit to doing that. That's kind of creepy, but I had good cause to believe she was seeing other people. So.
Gotcha.
So there's a woman here. I don't know if I should admit that on national YouTube because that doesn't go away. But this woman, and this is again from, where is this even from? Outkick.com. This unhinged woman, this is what the title is, goes full stalker to land a date with a guy she saw at a grocery store. So, here we go. This is what she did, okay? This blonde started off her stalker confession by saying, "Is this the beginning of two people who lock eyes and fall in love with one another story? No. It's more of a horror film. Where the guy ends up locked in the woman's basement.
Okay.
After noticing him, she follows him, and again, this is the grocery store, to the checkout and strategically places herself behind him. When he hands over his card to the cashier, she glances over to see what his name is.
Wow.
Okay. She then Googles the guy and finds his social media profiles.
Oh boy.
She learns he's single. She then looks through his friend's account and finds his mother's Facebook page. She then joins a book club that her mother is a member of.
Yikes.
Get the stuff up. She deliberately engages the mother in a conversation and happens to mention, "I'm single and I'm looking for this type of guy." And she says, "I happen to know because my son is single."
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big yikes.
So they did set up a date, by the way. Now, who's going to tell this guy to run?
That's just nuts.
I had not done that, okay?
That's nuts.
I had not done that.
This poor guy's like walking into the full on I don't even know that scenario is wild. Like you've gone out of your way to just kind of implant yourself and embed yourself with the mom in the book club, just so you could get the okay. Hey, listen, let me introduce you to Mary from my book club. And then, like, what if this guy finds out about all this stuff, which I'm sure he has at this point, being that it's on the internet.
I don't know.
Well, imagine if he's reading that story on the internet and he's like, "Wow, that's nuts," and it's like his life.
So the one thing I tell my 7-year-old daughter at this point is to hide crazy until after you're married. I said, she goes, "Why is that?" I said, "Because the men will run, and they will run far once they see crazy.
Yes.
But once you lure them in, they're stuck. It is over. Save crazy until after you're married."
Yes.
That's because believe me, they all hide it. They all hide it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, did I do that?
the way your face just changed right there, you were just like.
So, I'll never forget, me and my ex, we were getting the house ready because we were getting ready to show it before we sold it. And we had to make the bed. And she was yelling and screaming at me. But we never argued. And I swear her voice turned to the devil. Like, "You will help me do this."
Oh, boy.
And she actually had to stop herself and be like, "Did that come out of me?" And I was like, "Yeah, it did."
I need a young priest and an old priest.
Yeah, I guess so.
Late night with the devil.
Yeah. So have you heard about the biggest pop singer in this country?
Taylor Swift.
No. Sessi. Sessi.
I have not. If you're
Well,
Sessi and you know it, clap your hands.
This is in Florida, of course, so you can't make this stuff up. Again, this is from the New York Post. Singer Sessi allegedly driving with phony diplomatic plates pulled out of vehicle by Florida cops in wild video. Now, if you haven't heard of Sessi, don't feel bad because I have not either. Here we go. A Latin singer was dragged from her vehicle and arrested Tuesday when she was caught allegedly driving with a bogus diplomatic tag. This is the kicker. Before her boyfriend was busted for the same crime. Here we go. Selena Mercado, 32, who performs under the stage name Sessi, was pulled out of her Audi Q5 for a traffic violation. So what do you do when you get pulled over for a traffic violation? And you're asked to provide your driver's license, which you don't hand them because you hand them your passport instead, and say, "I have immunity."
Diplomatic immunity.
Yes, that's the weapon too, yes. The officer then asks her to step out of the car, and she says, of course, what everybody says, "Bring your supervisor over here. Stop reaching inside my vehicle. I feel threatened."
Check every box.
The passenger then yells, "I feel threatened. Get off her right now. They have no jurisdiction over you.
Oh, boy.
You are not a U.S. citizen. They have no jurisdiction." So what, of course, do you do then? You would then threaten the police officer and say you were going to get fired and she's going to get $250,000 for this encounter.
Oh, boy.
That's what the passenger says. Before she's ripped out of the Audi by the police and put face down in a cuffs. With the officers telling her, "If only you complied, this thing wouldn't have gone as bad." "I did. I gave you my passport," she says. And then she tells the officers, "My vehicle's registered with the U.S. Department of State." However, detectives soon discovered the plates which she claimed this diplomat were fake. The female driver shown in the video was stopped by our traffic officer for traffic violations. She said she had immunity. She repeatedly refused to comply with the officer's orders and was placed in handcuffs. She was released on $2,500 bond. When asked about the fake plates, the singer stood her ground and said that they were legit. She's not backing down. She's like full-blown. Look, Delulu is the new way to go, apparently. They are not fake. They're complete registered to my private trust and my private vehicle, which, by the way, I'm allowed to have under a trust. She is charged with having a counterfeit registration, license plate, and sticker on a motor vehicle. So now she had a whole bunch of different fake stuff. To come bail her out, her boyfriend, Andres Lopez Escobar, picks her up from jail the next day. In his car, he also has fake diplomatic plates. And the officers are outside waiting for him.
Oh, boy.
He also refuses to get out of the car.
They've been through this before.
They have to bust the window open and pull him out.
Oh,
by the way,
boy.
she's 32. He's 22. He faces charges of driving without a valid driver's license, having a counterfeit license plate, motor vehicle registration sticker, resisting an officer without violence. He also had multiple guns in the car.
Okay. That's fun.
Here we go. Now, remember she just said, I'm not a U.S. citizen. Well, that may not be entirely true either. Apparently, she was born in the Bronx.
Ah. Yes.
And she says, I will not give up and stand my ground to too many things in this world, especially on me. I've been such a good community girl and so good to my community. I have family in the NYC Police Department.
Oh, boy.
That is singer Sessi, by the way.
Sessi.
Sessi. Okay. She's the big thing.
Yeah. Let's check her out on Spotify.
I will. You can. Are you actually going to do that right now?
I am.
Oh, okay. Well,
SESSI?
that's it. It's like Social Security Administration. Yeah.
Oh, here. Hold up.
Not a bad looking girl.
Maybe. 2,691 listeners.
That's more than we have, so I can't complain. I think that beats us by about 2,900. Not terrible. Not terrible.
If that's her. Assuming it is.
You know what? Again, not terrible. Not top 40, but not terrible. I mean, look, she's got talent. I mean,
Yeah.
more than I have. I mean, in terms of singing. So
Sure.
I can't, but I'm driving around with legit plates. But with the cost of insurance and everything nowadays, I mean, I don't blame them.
Yeah,
I
seriously.
can't blame them.
Yeah. You're going to see more and more stuff like that, with the rising cost of everything. So, like, you kind of just, as much as we eye roll some of these stories, like, I get it. I get it. I do. People, you do what you got to do sometimes. I get it.
So, Hayden, I have another question. It's a dating question. It's very serious. Now, again, you said you'd never stalked a female.
No.
I'm a little disappointed with that one. But have you ever drank their blood?
Oh, my God. What day is
yes.
it? No. What day is it?
Have you actually drank somebody's blood?
No.
Oh, my God.
No.
You're hesitated on that one. I got to think maybe you have somewhere. You're a little bit of a freak, man. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we are going to horror conventions and, when in Rome.
Well, I've never seen that happen in a horror convention, but I mean,
Not yet.
If that's what you think, I can tell you.
Listen, it's $20 for the room that you cry in.
Not in Edison. I'll tell you that now. So, is Megan Fox still hot?
Oh, man, I don't know. I don't think so. And I'm just going to say it's because, for me, just, I don't know, like, the whole package is just, it's just, I guess it's, who's she with? That Machine Gun Steve.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that guy. That whole thing has kind of brought her way down, in my opinion.
So, I disagree. I still think she's amazingly hot for her age. What is she, 40 now?
Got to be about.
Yeah, so, and the little bit of craziness that she has.
See, the craziness it's
That
takes
that that makes
points
that
away
makes
from
that
me.
makes no.
For me, it does.
Look, I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm just 6 weeks is fine. I'm good with this. I'm yes.
You wake up and your kidney's missing.
Was it a good 6 weeks? I mean,
Machine Gun Steve took your kidney.
I got another kid, So this is from Breitbart, by the way. Megan Fox defends drinking Machine Gun Kelly's blood by calling out women who let men they meet on Tinder ejaculate in their mouth. No, I did not stutter reading that. I will show that to you, just so you know. That's Breitbart, not Real Geek Media. Breitbart. I'm just reading this.
Hit that again. Say that again.
Megan Fox defends drinking Machine Gun Kelly's blood by calling out women who let men they meet on Tinder ejaculate in their mouth.
Apples meet oranges.
So, on Wednesday's podcast of Megan Fox's Call Her Daddy podcast, she
has a podcast?
Everybody has a podcast. We have one. Come on.
Well, I mean,
So,
got to ask a Transformer question.
yeah, you don't want to go there. Please. She called out other women. I guess this is after social media said that they found it weird or satanic that she happens to drink Machine Gun Kelly's blood every now and then. And she said, basically, fuck you. All you women on Tinder who go out with these guys on the first date and then suck them off and let them come in your mouth are way more disgusting than I am. So the Transformer star noted that she believes she is facing these allegations because there was just like that one time that I said I drink blood ritualistically. Just one time.
Just once.
At summer camp. But Fox insisted that was a very misunderstood thing. Everything is like a matter of what you're accustomed to or what is like socially acceptable or normal. Is she a vampire? I mean, I don't know. It's possible. But guess what? This kind of crazy elevates her game for me. Because she looks good. You're just taking it up a notch. And I'm like, you know what? I can meet that. You want some wax there too? We can do that too. Yeah. We can do that. Yeah. Okay. So then she goes on to compare what she does to two friends who take their blood, their fingers when they cut them and say, we're going to make a blood pact together.
Right.
That's how she compares it. That's not satanic, right? That's normal. That's cute. It's a little bond between kids who love each other. Fox then goes on to say her drinking fiance's blood is like that.
Yes.
Instead of rubbing your fingers together, the drop of blood goes in your mouth. I don't know why that becomes satanic.
Like, are we talking like a faucet level or like a drip?
I don't know if,
like a leaky faucet or like full born, like the dude just severed an artery and there's a fire hose.
Severed an artery. I think it's more like they probably cut each other's
Like, what is the
fingers.
pressure level of the blood? Is this like fire hydrant open?
I would imagine it's probably more like diabetic strip. I'm just guessing.
My goodness.
She then adds, before comparing blood to sperm, and then lambasting the women who are letting guys come in their mouth. I understand that people are like, hey, that's weird. But guess what I think is weird? I think it's weird for girls who are out there letting guys come in their mouth and they don't know these guys. You're letting somebody put their sperm in your mouth. And he doesn't even have a job. You met him on fucking Tinder. He's an entrepreneur or whatever. He's in a startup and you just let him sperm in your mouth. That's disgusting. So fuck you, Fox asserted. You're so offended that I got to drop the Machine Gun Kelly's blood in my mouth. You have Brandon from Silicon Valley sperm in your mouth. He didn't even buy you a nice drink.
Oh, Brandon. Oh. Let's not just run Brandon's name through the mud like this.
And again, in a way, I kind of think she's not wrong.
Listen,
she knows Machine Gun Kelly.
She's making a very crude point. But like you just said, she knows him. I mean, are they dating or married or?
They're married, right?
Right. That's my
Yeah.
assumption. Right.
But I think
So,
they're living apart right now.
right. Her point is somewhat valid.
You say tomatoes, I say tomatoes. I'd go out with either girl. Doesn't make a difference to me.
What about Brandon
Who?
from Silicon Valley?
I'm Brandon now. Part of the picture? Oh,
Oh, man.
don't worry, I'll tap the back of your head before I. Oh, you spit that up. Talking about sex, Hayden, because we haven't talked about it enough here tonight. I told you I had a lot of interesting news stories here tonight, and we got 3 more to go. Billy Baldwin viciously claps back at Sharon Stone over her sliver sex claims. I have so much dirt on her. So,
Whoa.
Celebrity news. But this is just my feeling on this before I even get into it. Are these people just like hanging on like to the last scraps of their former? I mean, Sharon Stone was big. I mean, she was huge.
Yes.
Billy Baldwin. Look, I just don't.
I'm sorry, but that's just weird.
So here we go. Billy Baldwin barked at Sharon Stone on social media Tuesday after the actress claimed that the producer pushed her to have sex with the actor while they were filming Sliver. Billy says, "I'm not sure why Sharon Stone keeps talking about me after all these years." This is on X, by the way. Does she still have a crush on me, or is she hurt after all these years because I shunned her advances? And of course, Alec Baldwin comes on and she starts threatening people.
Just don't give him a gun.
And oh yeah, well, I feel bad for that lady who did. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I have so much dirt on her, it would make her head spin, but I've kept quiet. Billy Baldwin then says, "I wonder if I should write my book and tell the many disturbing, kinky, and unprofessional tales about Sharon. That might be fun." The spat started this week when Stone told Louis Theroux of his podcast that Evans encouraged her to sleep with Baldwin in hopes of improving his on-screen performance in the thriller. If she slept with him, his performance definitely didn't get any better in that movie. Don't get me wrong. The movie's not terrible, but really you could have put any actor in Billy Baldwin's role.
Yeah, you could just substitute Billy Baldwin with any generic actor.
Yeah. So the producer is running around telling Sharon Stone in his office in sunglasses, explaining to me that he slept with Ava Gardner, and therefore I should sleep with Billy Baldwin. Because if I slept with Billy Baldwin, Baldwin's performance would get better. Interesting. Baldwin was nominated for the Golden Raspberry Award that year.
Well, maybe she should have. What? Yeah. Now, this movie was like post Basic Instinct, right?
Oh, yeah.
This was like the Kmart version of that movie. And she's in it, right? So that was like her bread and butter. Like these thriller type movies. Billy Baldwin was super forgettable. Like, I'm sorry, but Billy Baldwin in anything is really not great. So,
I think the most underrated Baldwin, Steven. I like Steven. I
mean, yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
He doesn't play the same character all the time. And Alec. I mean, Glenn Ross. I mean, Jesus, that's
there was a time where Alec Baldwin was like really, really good. Not anymore.
Getaway. I mean,
yes, there's so many movies that where he was great in, but Stephen Baldwin, I have to agree with you.
Yeah.
Who was the one? Which was the one that was in Vampires?
Adam?
Daniel?
That might have been it. There's so many of them that I just forget about. Really just.
And Daniel's like the heavy version of Alec.
And believe me, they're all forgettable. I mean, I just.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but it's true.
Yeah.
Billy Baldwin then says, he brings Janice Dickinson in. It says, the day after I did the screen test, Sharon Stone ran in and said, "I'm going to make him fall for me so hard, I'm going to make his head spin." So,
Oh
Apparently
my.
not.
Hollywood
So,
hijinks.
so let me ask you a question. So your kids are in school, and you find out one of their teachers is on OnlyFans doing porn.
Hmm.
Is there a problem with that? Yes, no?
Massive problem with that.
Really?
Yes, massive problem with that.
Okay.
You're educating my children, right? You know,
Hmm. You
you
can't
don't
differentiate
you
between
don't
the two?
think for one second that word's going to get around once that kid finds out, or an older kid tells his little brother who's in the school and that's the teacher. Like, come on. Like, yeah, I have a massive problem with that.
But the thing of it is, and this is just maybe my perspective, and I'm going to read you the story because it's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all know if you have a profile on OnlyFans and you're a teacher, you're basically getting fired.
Mm-hmm.
Conduct unbecoming,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case may be.
Yes.
But once 5 o'clock hits and they're no longer a teacher for the day,
Right.
shouldn't they be allowed to do whatever they want? Shouldn't they be able to live their private life?
I think the caveat with that is yes, you should be able to, but you need to consider what your main profession is. If you want to be a teacher and continue teaching and educating children, knowing full well that pictures are going to pop up, or the kids are going to hold up their phones and show everybody the pictures, and you know, your reputation as a teacher is shot.
But let
Right?
me ask you a question. Do you think the male students would be paying more attention?
Not to the lesson, but they will be paying more
My eyes
attention
I would be paying, my eyes would be glued to that.
to not to the
Yeah.
textbook. You'd be looking at something else. But yeah,
Did you actually read any textbooks up to the eighth grade?
I don't know what they do now, but
Did you actually read any textbooks up to the eighth grade? Answer the question.
I don't remember. Probably
I can tell you,
not. Probably
I
not.
can tell you I never did.
Yeah.
I can tell you I never did.
But my point
In
is, right?
college, even they give you the Cliff Notes version when you go to class. So why even spend the time doing that?
So it's for the same reason. Like as a teacher, right? Your sole purpose is to educate the kids, right? So little Billy finds out that Mrs. Smith has her OnlyFans, right? And little Billy gets access to it. Now he's showing all his friends at school. As a parent, right? Let's say you're coming home and you catch your kid and they're on that, and it's their teacher, and you're like, "What the hell is this?" Right? Like, is that not like a moment where you're just gonna lose your mind?
So the first thing I would do after I hit the subscribe button, um, I would make sure I'm available for the first parent-teacher conference. If there's any reading days, I would go there as well for those.
I don't know. Look,
Maybe outside in the
I,
parking lot,
I have no problem with people.
stalking people. I don't know, but it's possible. I'm not saying I would. I'm just saying it falls into that sphere. So the story I'm going to bring up today, and I'm glad you have Spotify up because we can Google this as well. I want to know where that line was between what happens after 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
History teacher Dominique Brown fired from her rap alias Drippin' Honey
Oh,
after 7 years in the Detroit area school. Now, she's not doing anything perverted on OnlyFans. She's embarking on her music career as a rapper. Now, I don't know if there's any kind of anti-Semitic stuff in her or anti-law enforcement. Oh, you found her already. Okay. What's wrong with that picture there? Hold on. Bring that picture back here. We have to post a nudity. Is that she nude on that?
no.
Oh, damn it. All right. So, here
So-
she is. Right?
Right.
Now, and then here's her in her rap outfit. Okay?
That's like Batman, like Bruce Wayne to Batman.
Michelle Pfeiffer, absolutely. Brown, who's an educator for 7 years, and by the way, I did read a separate article where she was named Teacher of the Month in December. I think it was 2 months before she was fired. after parents came across one of her rap music videos. My outside life should not be grounds for termination when it does not interfere with my ability to fulfill my responsibilities as a teacher. My dedication, professionalism, and passion for education have always been unwavering, regardless of any personal pursuits I have. She began teaching U.S. history at this brand new school. They called her into a meeting with the dean in October, and the dean tells her that an anonymous parent complained because they don't like her rap career and it's a bad influence on the kids. And then give her an ultimatum: get rid of it and wipe everything clean, or we're going to terminate you. Basically erase all your content. She was then fired in February. Now, before I go any further, what's your initial... Should she be allowed to rap?
Here's the dilemma, right? You chose to be an educator. Okay, like if you were working at the supermarket, right? Working the cash register and you're moonlighting as a rapper, right? Nobody cares. But as an educator, it's different. It's different because you are...
If she was playing in the symphony in Australia on the weekends, would that be different?
Well, what are the rap lyrics? What is she...
Again, I don't know, but I'm assuming...
Are they appropriate for kids at the age level she's teaching?
They have to be appropriate for kids. If they're reading Slaughterhouse-5, they're reading books that say the F word and drop the F-bomb in them.
Right.
You're sitting here telling me that they're teaching history where people have died. All kinds of events, from the Holocaust through slaughters and everything else, through wars. And you're going to sit here and tell me that somebody rapping about sex, but you don't think the teenagers are aware of sex?
Well, how do they look up to the teacher? Do they look up as a teacher as like a role model? And if the language is, not age appropriate, or if the actions in the rapping are not appropriate for children, that's an issue.
Without hearing the lyrics. Again, because I can't say I listen.
Listen, if she's rapping ABCs, I don't think anybody cares.
But I disagree, because what she does on her own time at that point, again, I bring it back to the symphony part. She's choosing to express her and trying to make her life better. And who are we to try to take that away from her? It's not in a derogatory way like OnlyFans. We can sit there and say, okay, OnlyFans, automatic grounds for expulsion. That's this is the far over to the left.
Right.
But how far over? If I'm an author, right, and I wrote a book, well, what did you write in your book? Well, I wrote about these cannibals killing people. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, you're an educator. Well, wait a minute. I wrote a book so kids can read it, or teenagers or horror fans can read it. Oh, but you have to erase that content now.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And now all of a sudden it becomes, well, here's an infringement upon a creative outlet, and you're showing kids that, hey, you can be punished for doing the right thing in society.
Well, here...
She's not breaking any laws.
No, but you got to understand, as an educator, those kids are entrusted by the parents to go to the schools.
It's not like she's not at the school sitting there.
No,
hey,
she's not.
My album for you, my demo.
No. Look, she's doing her job at school after hours, right? When the kid's picking up on whatever the message of the album is, or the lyrics of whatever. And this isn't about rap. It's whatever. If it was rock music or whatever. If, as a parent, when I send my kids to the school, I'm expected that the educator is there to be the role model. They're there to educate. I'm entrusting you with that power, right? So if I come back and I find out that Miss So-and-so is got lyrics on a rap album, and it's about selling drugs or about, shooting people. And meanwhile, you're educating my child and they're looking up to you. Maybe that's not the the role model that I want for my child. And I have a problem with that as a parent, right?
So
I
yes,
get what you're saying, that, after hours, you're off the clock because you're free to do it. To an extent, as an educator, you are more in my, eyesight, because I'm entrusting my child there day in, day out, right? I want them to get education, but if they stumble across something after hours, of course there's going to be somebody that's going to, throw the, whoa, what is this? We can't do that. Of course there is, because there's always going to be a parent that values what the educator is doing with their child, whether that be through school or after. It's just the nature of that profession. Like I said, if she was working at the grocery store, nobody would bat an eye. But because you chose to be an educator, that is front and center. That's for every parent. Every parent is going to be, I don't know about that, right? If you worked just, at any cashier job or whatever low-level job, nobody's going to bat an eye. It's just unfortunate the way it is, because you're an educator and because you're entrusted by parents to be that role model. I'm always going to, side like this when it's an educator, right? It just is what it is. The children are, their values and what they're being taught in school is one thing, but, in that profession, you need to be careful with what you're moonlighting as. In that specific profession, yes. In another profession, no. And it sucks that that's the way it is. But again, anytime there's children involved, from my standpoint, I'm always going to feel that way.
So here we go. In her latest music video for Drippin' 101, Brown is seen rapping with many of her former students who danced and sang along in the background. Brown recognizes that her songs contain explicit language. It says the music has nothing to do with this school. Music is a part of culture. We're from Motown. This is what we do. So it's unheard of. It's the culture. When you look at me, you understand it a little bit better. If I was a horrible teacher, you wouldn't have dropped me the day it was a problem. Several of the parents were disappointed in her dismissal. As a parent, we long for teachers to support our children and inspire them, and she was one of those teachers.
I think that you get into a gray area with the punishment, right? Did they need to dismiss? Maybe not. Maybe they could have worked something out, but I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Here we go. One of the moms believes the teachers are free to do whatever they want outside of school. And Brown's music video is no different from every rap music video teens see on social media. Yeah, so the school, of course, comes out and says the well-being of all the students remains at the forefront of everything. We continue to foster a distraction-free teaching and learning environment based on student success.
That's a tough one.
I don't think it's tough. I think that the school is, a parent got upset, but parents get upset all the time.
But you got to know the risks as a teacher. That's right there waiting to happen.
Again, we're not seeing that she's saying anything defamatory,
no,
outrageous, some explicit language. Okay, we use explicit language here today.
Mm-hmm.
Does this mean that we should be fired from our jobs? If I go back to me being an author. If I write something in a book, does that? Oh, you have to choose between your career as an author or your day job. Well, without my day job, I can't cover anything. Because let's face it, I'm not making any money doing this. All right, and for me, it's just atrocious that somebody who's being creative is having their voice silenced while they're delivering, a positive inspiration and a positive role model to the kids. I mean, imagine sitting there being a girl or a student in this class and being like, wow, what's her advice on being a singer today? How can I break into that industry? You're going to get a lot more students who gravitate towards that than, All right, well, how do I be a history teacher today?
No,
How do I
I
be
don't
a
think
PE
any.
teacher today?
I don't think
I mean, let's face
anybody's.
it, teachers are not paid what they should be. It's
Well,
atrocious. It's, I
yes
mean,
and
look,
no.
oh, it's no doubt they're trashed in terms of what they make, and the way that their salaries are being cut and their benefits are being cut, and it's a shame that because they're the victims of every state right now is looking for ways to cut their budget, and they're the ones who are
Hmm.
getting cut, and they're trying
No.
to deunionize them. And again, I don't have any teachers in my family, but I'm well aware what the politics are. And
Yep.
then to sit there and take it out on people who are trying to make a positive influence on kids is for me is atrocious.
Hmm.
And I hope she sues the shit out of the school.
Well,
I
I'm
hope she wins
sure.
a lot of
I'm
money.
sure they will. Like for me, I still stand that that specific job. You really need to understand that a scenario like this can occur.
And again,
You
you're
really
not
need to
wrong.
know the risks of that. So, like all this stuff, you should have known that this may eventually come to a head.
You're
This
not
kid.
wrong, and I'm not wrong. I think
No,
we both
your
have
points are
valid
very
points.
valid. Very
Yeah, I
valid.
mean, it's the same thing. But I mean, I just think that there's a distinction between OnlyFans, where the teacher's up there getting naked
Sure.
and causing
Yeah.
a distraction,
Yep.
versus a teacher who's doing it outside of school. Again, the students might sit there and say, "Well, let's see what our music's like outside of school." But if you're a parent walking in and you hear explicit language, are you gonna be like, "Oh, the world's coming to an end"? I would think 90% of the parents probably wouldn't have a problem with
No.
that, and
No. That's just a tough one, and you know, I just think you got to know the risks. You have to. You have to. And it sucks you got called on it, but
yeah. The last story for tonight, as if we didn't go long enough. Nev Campbell makes surprise return to Scream franchise after exiting over pay dispute.
you got to think she was like when she saw the Melissa
Cha-ching.
Barrera and Jenna Ortega exit. She was like, "Oh, you're back in the truck up for mommy. You're back in the truck up, and I'll come back. I'll save your franchise."
Sidney Prescott is coming back.
I would love
They've
to
already
know
they've already got the script written, apparently.
what's a new director too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think it's Kevin Williamson,
Oh, okay.
who was the writer of the original.
Right. That's correct. Yeah. Yes, it is. The director, Kevin. Yep.
So they're going back
Directed-
to the roots. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this. I feel like Scream should just go away for right now because it's a mess. It's a mess.
I just had enough of Courtney Cox. I could do without her.
I mean, who else? I mean, obviously they're going to bring her back, right? They have to. But Nev Campbell, I mean, I don't know. Where do you go with this franchise at this point? You set up something somewhat different with the younger cast, and they're all out now. And
I wanted to see some of them die. I really did. I really just. I don't
yes.
want to root for the good guy to die most of the time, but when
Listen.
you get stabbed 30 times in 2 movies, it's like, look, you're not Superman at this point.
How are you
please
living?
put this on?
Yes. I just don't
So-
know. Yeah.
Go ahead. I just.
No, you can continue.
So I did have one more story. I guess it was attached to the back of that one.
Hmm.
And this one's from the Independent, MSN.com. 2 men in Georgia are accused of plotting to release a python into the home of one of their exes to eat her daughter,
Holy cow.
as part of a wider plan to harass her before eventually blowing up her home. Only in Georgia.
Wow.
The scheme began in December of 2022 when Stephen Glossner and Caleb Kinsey, both from Richmond Hill, began surveilling their exes. Does that sound familiar to you? Who would do that? They created a plan to kill, intimidate, harass, and injure the victim. That plan including finding a large python to place in the home to eat her daughter, shooting arrows at the front door, and mailing dog feces or dead rats to her.
Interesting.
The two also conspired to scalp her. Then
I
in
love
January
my
of 23, Mr. Gloucester found the victim's home online and mapped out a path to it. Kinsey then acquired and built an explosive device, and they carried out their plot to blow up the home on January 13th. No one was injured in the explosion. This is a picture of the explosion.
Yeah.
That would do it.
That'll do it.
It was reported at the time that the family had just moved into the home, which was left a crater. If convicted, these two guys face conspiracy charges, carry a 20-year sentence, and another 10. Have you ever thought about releasing a python into your home to eat your ex, or a kid, or a dog? Where would you even get a python? I mean, it's like, oh yeah,
Amazon.
no one will even think that. Oh, Amazon. Yeah, maybe.
That's pretty wild, man. I don't even know where to begin on that one.
I have never hated somebody enough to sit there and say, I'm going to scout that bitch.
I am going to, and I want my scalps.
I want my scalps, yeah. Yeah. You saw that article I sent you on True Lane, right? I mean,
yes.
Bring me my 20 heads or you're going to be beheaded too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Tamerlane, yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Now, if only Drippin' Honey was teaching that, I mean, she'd probably be expelled for that, right? Because we can't teach that.
They have a class on Tamerlane?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, think about it. The camels, I mean, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to get off on a tangent. I sent Hayden an article on Tamerlane, who was like one of the most brutal people in history after maybe Hitler, you don't hear much about him. But one of the most interesting things is when he was doing his India campaign, because he's from the Middle East, the Indians were going to be attacking with elephants. And if you know anything about like history, Hannibal, when he came over the Alps with the elephants, Rome didn't stand a chance. He basically demolished the Roman army at that point with the elephants because they couldn't combat him. Tamerlane decides he's going to set his camels on fire and then send them rushing towards the elephants. The elephants get spooked and they turn around and they go back and destroy the Indian army for him. He only had to go in just mop-up duty at that point. I mean, this guy was just a military genius. He was involved in everything he was doing, but very brutal. I mean, just when he built the human period and concreted them up in there while they were still alive. I mean, that's just insane.
Wild.
I mean, just some of this stuff this guy was doing. I mean, and they don't. I mean, you never hear about him. I mean, I had never heard of him before that article I sent you. I was like, where did this guy come from?
Yeah.
And
that
again,
article was like, whoa. And then the next story, it was like, what? Just
I mean,
one thing after another.
And again, it's not anything to emulate, but it's interesting. It's just, and again, we never hear about it because everything is just, you
don't
gratification.
Yeah, you don't hear about it at all. But it was a good read. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Hayden, you got anything going on? Anything coming up?
Not much right now. Dune 2, Thursday. Check us out for our post-movie review.
If we're not thrown out of the marquee by that time.
Listen, when we ride around on the sandworms inside, it's they might toss us, but we'll see.
If they have like a sandworm I can ride in that thing, I'm getting on it.
I saw this on X. There was people were watching Dune, and somebody set off fireworks inside the theater.
Wow!
Everybody starts running for the exit. Just everything goes. It looked like the scene in Inglourious Bastards. I have a message for Germany. It looked like that scene where everything.
It looked like that person didn't get charged with domestic terrorism.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, you remember from the law classes we took. Mm-hmm. That's equivalent to shouting fire in a crowded theater.
Yeah,
your free speech is null and void at that point.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff.
I mean, that's one of the things that Professor Reisner taught us. I mean, anyway, I mean, I remember if I got anything out of that class at all. I mean, seriously, especially you got the Batman guy out in Colorado, and I mean, that's not funny. I don't find any humor in that whatsoever.
If you were at that theater, that is not funny. That is terrifying, and that whoever does that stuff, you deserve everything you get. But I saw that video. I was like, this is crazy. But
I really hope they caught that person
yeah.
and they throw the book at him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that person's a lot worse than Drippin' Honey.
Oh,
And
no
even
question.
Sessi. And even Sessi at that point. I mean,
No question. No
now
question.
is it as odd as drinking blood? I don't know, but that's another story. But
But yeah, Dune 2 Thursday night. Then outside of that,
we have Dr. Alton Simpson on April 11th, going back to the Matrix.
we talk about the Matrix. So everybody rewatch the Matrix. We'll talk about it.
Now I'm only watching the first movie because I can't stand the rest of them.
Listen, the Reloaded is maybe a top 5 action scene movie for me.
So the train part.
That's the second one where they're on the freeway chase and they got the freeway chase and the chase all through the mansion and everything is like some of the best stuff you're ever going to see. The rest of the plot of the movie is different, but action wise, that is an insane movie. But yes, just the first one is the one we're going to be going into.
Again, I'm not going to ruin anything here, but I certainly hope that. Never mind. We'll go into it more because I have a unique perspective on this movie.
On Dune or Matrix?
Oh, Matrix.
Matrix.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. I'm not shy about it either.
Okay.
And shame on me.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yes. Shame on me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I look forward to the whole conversation. Like I said, just a couple guys hanging out talking for what's 2 hours? Wow, that's insane.
We are over the 2-hour mark, but we will leave you with that. We'll see you Thursday night after our Dune screening, and then we'll talk Matrix. Real Geek Media, real geeks, real reviews, real good time. We'll catch you guys next time.
Peace out.